Seventh house is the house of, so I want to go through first house being who you are, the way that you are learning to master your body in this world. Second house has to do with being in your house, having everything, your needs met, the things that are required for you to be alive in your human body. Food, money, clothing, shelter, pleasure, love, meaning feeling filled. Then, and not just feeling filled, but being filled. Having your belly full, being hydrated, everything that it takes to keep your body alive and well. Second house. Third house is how you're learning, what you're learning about, what you find interesting to learn about, information, how do you perceive this world. The fourth house has to do with home and roots, what's deep below the surface. As you can see, fourth house is way at the bottom of the chart, down here. Fourth house can be related to your childhood experiences, that deep layer of your, what you might call subconscious, the programming that you received. This is not all bad things. This is just the root system, your tap roots that are tapping into the source. Fifth house is the way that now you've tapped into those roots. The fifth house is like the way that you burst into your flower. What type of flower are you going to be? This has to do with creativity, your joy, the way that you come out standing up on the stage of your life and you produce your form of art, your artistic expression. It has to also do with the way you express yourself sexually, the way that you... Sometimes people say the fifth house has to do with children, but I think it's more your inner child, the innocence of yourself, and the way that your innocence is creating your artistic expression. The sixth house has to do with health and wellness, the way that you care for your body, that you rest, that you brush your teeth and keep yourself clean. It has to do with hygiene and health. And then the seventh house, now that you've met all of this 1 through 6, which is the foundational pieces of being in a body. The seventh house is like, now I've got those needs met and I want to find that person who I can have as a companion. This is where there's all sorts of different types of relationships. And what I've come to realize, I'm 40 now, and I've grown in wisdom somewhat, still learning and growing as we always are, that a lot of the things that we want to be filled with, F-I-L-L-E-D, filled with, are met in a lot of different types of relationships. So when I'm like, oh, I want love, I have so much love. I work on people's bodies, so I have a lot of physical intimacy and touch happening all day long, and people tell me they're deep and intimate things, and I know that a lot of people really love me, and I really love so many people. There is an influx of love. Then it gets to be like, okay, I have all these friends, male friends, female friends, and I love them, and I know that they love me. But then there's this next level of seventh house relating, that is where you build a deeper level of trust and companionship, that sort of, you know, you have the feelings of love and the communication with each other, and then in the eighth house, we take it into deep physical intimacy that has to do with intensity, wrapping the emotions with the physical body. And there's sex and orgasms involved in that energetic component of the eighth house. So the seventh house, traditionally in most astrology schools, they're talking about this being your house of marriage. And yes, definitely it is the house of marriage. This is where we are most relational, and the way in which we want to be most relational. For you, your 7th house is Pisces. You have Pisces in the 7th house. So there is this deep communion of souls, that you want to have this deep soul connection with somebody that is in service to spirit, that your relationship is so full of love that that love that you have for each other permeates other things, like saving the dolphins or feeding the children, that your love for each other is somehow a benefit and a gift to all beings. So the fact that your 7th house is an empty house gives me the feeling that you already have a sort of, it's a non-issue in a sense of, possibly you have also, like what I just explained, a life filled with, and maybe it's not filled because maybe it's just not an issue, meaning that you are relational and you love people, people love you, your interactions with people are helping and healing to the planet. The point that I want to make here is that there is a choice in this 7th house. The choice in this 7th house is where you're able to recognize how you love, how you communicate with your loved ones, and then making that choice where this person is my friend. These are the things that I do with my friends. This person I am interested in, and I would like to take this person into my 8th house. I would like to maybe build an 8th house together, meaning that you're going to create this next level of relating that includes everything from 1 to 7, which is feeling all of these important life things. And maybe some people don't need to bring their partner through all of that, and they want to be healthy and filled, and then they build their 8th house together. So many people, I think, just jump right into 8th house and get naked and have their sexual intimacy and physical closeness without, and then maybe sometimes from that, when they do go jumping right into the 8th house, that they're able to work backwards and make things make sense. But it doesn't seem logical to me in my mind and where I am in my life right now, but not saying that it's wrong. For you, both the 7th and the 8th house don't have a lot of congestion by planets. They're empty houses, which says that these are non-issues. So what is catching my interest right now is that where there is a conglomerate of information or planetary information is right through the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th houses. So in the beginning of this reading, I had mentioned I wanted to talk about this square and how my sense is, even though that it's not relationship material, that this is part of you making that fertile field for companionship and having, like making a space for yourself to start getting into the 7th and 8th house, I feel like has to do with these other things that aren't about your relationships, that it has to do with other things about yourself. Not saying there's anything wrong with you. It's almost like being able to accept yourself more fully in these different ways, because this, finishing this thought, is that the 1st through the 6th houses are very full. So that whole progression that I made talking about 1st house, 2nd house, you know what I'm coming in my mind? I don't know if I still have this workbook in my files, but a while back I made a workbook that walked you through all of the houses where you could ask yourself these certain questions related to those houses, where you could start to clean them up. It's like doing Feng Shui for your soul, where you're looking in each of these compartments of life. And as we know, there is no compartmentalization in life, that we are the whole mandala of being, the whole sky and the whole earth within this physical body. But when you're walking through each of these segments, you can go into those rooms in your psyche, in your soul, and ask these questions. And as you're asking the questions, things will start to become more clear. The insights come out for you to put them on your table. And then the things that are bullshit put there by some other thing that's an old program or things that have been implanted in you, you can see them and decide what you want to do with those things. So if I have that file, I'll go ahead and send it to you so you can do that process, because I feel like this is what is going to help you personally to get to the point of making that place for your partner to come in. And I have chills everywhere. I feel like this is the time for that to happen. So on that note, I want to talk about your transits now. So right now, today, Venus is at 24 degrees Libra, and that means that Venus has just crossed over your Mars, meaning that Venus going through Libra right now is teaching us about relationships, how to be relational. Who am I in a relationship, and who am I to this partnership? Venus passing through Libra is bringing the form of the feminine through Libra. This is like we're getting relational. We're feeling relational. We're drawing more inward and drawing our inner circle tighter and closer. So many things are coming to my mind, but I just said this words last night with somebody who I had over, who is in my 7th house of friends. And I feel like kind of trying to decide, do you stay here? Do we move to the 8th house together? What's going to happen here? And in this time, we had the fall equinox yesterday, which is why he was over. Fall equinox, you can still do this practice today too as a ritual, inviting somebody over. You can even do a group. I fed my daughter, I fed my neighbor, I fed this person, where I cooked food from the harvest. It wasn't all harvested from my yard, but cook a meal and sharing your harvest with people that you love, people who are close to you. This time of year, it's like the harvest is dwindling, our circle gets smaller, and we are literally pulling energy inward. So Libra passing through Venus, getting us into this dark season, is showing us who is in that circle, who is important, what do we want as the resources are tightening. And depending on where you live, we don't really have this anymore currently, meaning that you can just go to the grocery store or order online food from anywhere on the planet right now, which is kind of scary and weird. But anyway, that with Venus passing through Libra, we are recognizing who is my circle and how, to draw them in, because that's what Venus does, draws in. We share the harvest, we share what we have, we're being relational. Venus is passing over your Mars, so it's that part of you that is your inner masculine that we've talked about in depth. Venus passing over that could also say that there is bringing that sense of wanting relationship to your inner masculine, wanting to be relational. So this transit with Venus is going completely, it already went through your 1st house of Virgo. And the time we started this reading, there was all this planetary action going through Virgo. So basically all this passing through of this portion of your chart is going to be sorting it out, clearing it out, figuring it out. This is happening during the dark season. So during the fall and winter and the very beginning of, after winter, I guess, is spring, but there's this weird little time where it's not quite spring yet. And I can't remember the name of that season. I don't even know if we have a name for that season. Imbolc? Okay, Venus passing through 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. Then your Venus in the 5th house, which we talked about in depth in that first reading, is going to be exact with Venus in the sky, meaning that the relational planet, the goddess of Aphrodite, Venus Aphrodite, love, beauty, romance, art, those beautiful things that make it worth us being alive, comes full circle to your Venus, which is at 23 degrees. That's going to happen on 15 December 2019. So this December, Venus and your Venus will be lined up together. So Venus is transiting pretty fast through this bottom portion of your chart. And if this were my chart, I would be focusing everything Venus. Right now, go fully into your Venusian ways. Like, what brings you pleasure? What brings you joy? Makes you feel beautiful? Lets you enjoy the natural beauty and abundance of the earth? Go full-fledged into Venus. I would even study about the Venus, Aphrodite, the goddesses that have to do with sex, love, pleasure, beauty, abundance, art. I would go into listening to audiobooks and fully get immersed into that worldview that is Venusian, that cares about art and beauty. And do that to yourself also. Become Venus for this season. As you're going through those different houses and working with Feng Shui, which you could also do literally in your home, which would also be a strong recommendation from me, because that has been one of the most amazing, powerful things in my life for getting things out and drawing things in. Because the physical environment where you live, you're seeing these things, consistently looking at the mess in the corner, and it's in the back of your mind. It's a subconscious thing that takes up space and is a reflection of your inner architecture. When you consciously go out and decide, you may have to get one of those Bagua maps. I think it's called a Bagua map, that shows you the directions and, how to place things in your house that allows for the most effective flow of energy in the house. Then you have changed the outer, and the inner, the idea is that the inner will change too. So I would definitely recommend doing that. Now I wanted to talk the Mars transit. So Mars right now, so November 1st, Mars is going to line up with your natal Mars. So right now, Mars is still in Libra. Is that correct? Yes, Mars is still in Libra. And is it passing over your ascendant? Passed over your ascendant already, somewhere down here. So on November 1st, Mars will line up with your natal Mars. This could look like a meeting a man. It could be a meeting a man that is going to be part of you uncovering your inner masculine mysteries. It could be you meeting a man who is potentially part of you learning again about intimacy and practicing being relational with, meaning that you could be meeting a man in November. That could be somebody who is important to your life, either through a teaching lessons or through being the person that you're going to be sharing deeper intimacy with. But either way, Mars is lining up with your natal Mars, which says that there will be passion, fire, aggression, even assertiveness. When you meet that on the outside, it's an opportunity for you to also come up. When somebody is very assertive, you meet somebody assertive, you can either go like this and they assert themselves, or they assert themselves and you come up and you are able to assert yourself. So this is something really important when working with Mars transits, because you have that assertive thing happen and then you can make the choice to come up. And I feel like this day and age, as women, with wombs, people who are the womb keeper, when that assertive thing comes, whatever form that it's in, that we are able to pull out our inner masculine and meet them there. Because everybody knows, it's been time tested and proven that this assertive nature that comes at you will respect you, will honor you, and will take you seriously when you're able to meet them where they're at. If you go back and, okay, yes, you've given up your power. And that's not the way you want to start any relationship that's not going to be hierarchical. Because if you do that, you are already putting yourself below them. And now you've given them your power, and you're going to have to actually fight to climb your way back up if you want to meet them and be equal. So when Mars transit happens, exact your natal Mars on November 1st, 2019, remember that. And the transit, it comes direct on that day, but a few days before and a few days after, your